You keep saying you're tired, but let's be honest for a second. Tired of what? You're not working 12-hour shifts in a coal mine. You're not building houses with your bare hands. You're not running from predators. So why do you wake up every single day feeling like you just ran a marathon in your sleep? Here's the truth nobody told you. You're not tired. You're avoiding. And avoidance drains more energy than action ever will. Think about this. When was the last time you felt that heavy fog roll in right before you were supposed to do something important? The gym, that hard conversation, the project you keep pushing. Suddenly your body feels like cement. Your brain gets cloudy. You yawn. You think, I'll just rest a bit and start later. But later comes and goes, and the fog, it stays. That's not physical exhaustion. That's resistance. Your brain sees growth as a threat, so it creates fatigue to stop you, and you've been falling for it your whole life. Here's what's really happening inside you. There are two versions fighting for control: the comfortable you and the disciplined you. The comfortable you is loud, real loud. It whispers things like you deserve a break and start Monday, and you rage is not feeling it today. And because that voice feels familiar, you obey. But every time you obey comfort, you build evidence for the person you don't want to become. You prove to yourself that you're unreliable, and your brain believes evidence. That's why you feel heavy, not because you did too much, because you keep leaving things undone. Unfinished tasks pile up, unmade decisions stack, promises you made to yourself that you broke. That's psychological debt, and debt collects interest. You say you're overwhelmed, but look closer. Are you overwhelmed by action or overwhelmed by indecision? Because there's a massive difference. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates energy. Energy creates clarity. But indecision is a black hole. Should I work or scroll? Should I train or rest? Should I start now or wait until I feel ready? That constant back and forth, that internal tug of war, that's what exhausts you. Not the work, the debate. High performers don't have more energy than you. They just stopped having the debate. They decided once, and that decision removed the mental noise. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What are you avoiding right now? Be honest. Don't give me the surface answer. Go deeper. Is it starting something that scares you? Ending something that's comfortable? Having a conversation you've been dodging for months? Committing fully to a goal without an escape route? You know exactly what it is. You've known for a long time, and every day you don't face it, that thing grows heavier. Not because it's getting bigger, because you're getting weaker from carrying it. Avoidance is a weight you add to every single day. The thing you're running from doesn't change, but the guilt of not facing it, that compounds. Here's the part that stings. You're not avoiding effort, you're avoiding exposure. Deep down, you have this image of yourself, the version who could be great, the one with all that potential, the one who just hasn't gone all in yet. That version is safe, untested, unjudged. Nobody can tell you you're not good enough because you never fully showed up. But the moment you actually try, really try, you risk finding out the truth. What if you're not as talented as you thought? What if you fail in front of people? What if you give everything and it still doesn't work? That possibility terrifies you. So your brain protects you, not from failure, from ego death, from losing the fantasy of who you could be. And that protection, you call it tiredness, but it's fear wearing a disguise. Failure would at least teach you something. Failure would move you forward, even if it hurts. But comfort just keeps you still, frozen, stuck in the middle where nothing changes. And here's the cruelest part. Staying still while knowing you're capable of more, that's the real exhaustion. Not the kind sleep fixes, the kind that sits in your chest and follows you everywhere. You can sleep 10 hours, you can take a week off, you can go on vacation, and when you come back, that weight will still be there. Because you didn't face what you're avoiding, you just postponed it. And postponement is just avoidance with better packaging. Let's talk about what actually happens when you move toward the thing you're avoiding. Not in theory, in real life. The moment you stop running, something shifts. The fog starts lifting. The heaviness lightens. Your brain realizes, oh, we're not dying. We're just uncomfortable. And discomfort passes. But regret stays. Every single time you override resistance, you build trust with yourself. You prove that your word means something. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. You can't feel confident if you keep lying to yourself. It's impossible. The most confident people aren't confident because they're special. They're confident because they've collected years of evidence that they follow through. They don't have to guess if they'll show up. They know, and that knowing creates calm. You keep waiting to feel ready. but ready never comes, because the mind that avoids discomfort will never give you permission to destroy it. You have to move before the feeling arrives. You don't need motivation. Motivation is emotional, and emotion is unstable. Some days you'll wake up fired up. Some days you'll wake up empty. If your action depends on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. What you need is a new rule, a simple one. When resistance shows up, you move toward it, not aggressively, not dramatically, just deliberately. 5 minutes. One set, one call, one page. That's it. Because once you start moving, momentum takes over. Inertia is real. The hardest part is the first step. After that, it gets easier. But you have to take the first step before you feel like it. Let me give you something practical. For the next 7 days, every time you hear that voice say, "I don't feel like it," you do it anyway for 5 minutes. That's the whole challenge. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. You don't feel like training? Put on your shoes and do one exercise. You don't feel like working? Open the document and write 3 sentences. You don't feel like making the call? Dial the number and say hello. 5 minutes. That's all. Most of the time, you'll keep going after 5 minutes because starting was the wall. But even if you stop, you still won. Because you proved you can move when you don't want to, and that proof changes everything. Here's what happens when you do this consistently. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs motivation to act. You start seeing yourself as someone who acts regardless. And that identity doesn't need hype. It doesn't need inspiration. It just needs a decision. The version of you that stops negotiating with resistance, that version is calm. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. And steady beats motivated every single time. Motivation spikes and crashes. Steady just keeps going, day after day, week after week, until one day you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. Not because you had a breakthrough, because you made 1,000 small decisions to move when you didn't feel like it. You said you're tired, but watch what happens when you actually face something you've been avoiding. That heavy feeling, it disappears. That fog, it lifts. That exhaustion, gone. Why? Because conflict ended. The war between comfort and growth stopped. You chose a side, and choosing a side removes the internal noise. You're not tired from doing too much. You're tired from the constant argument in your head. Should I? Shouldn't I? Maybe later. I'll start tomorrow. That noise is louder than any physical work, and it never stops until you decide. So here's the question you need to answer today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today. What are you protecting by staying tired? Because that's what this is really about. Protection. Protection from failure. Protection from judgment. Protection from finding out what you're really capable of. Protection from losing the fantasy version of yourself that exists only in your head. But here's the truth about that fantasy version. He's not real. He never was. The only version that matters is the one who acts, the one who shows up, the one who keeps promises to himself. That version doesn't feel tired all the time. Not because he has more energy, because he stopped leaking energy into avoidance. He stopped the debate. He stopped waiting to feel ready. He just moves. 1 year from now, you'll either look back and say, "I finally stopped running," or you look back and say, "I stayed the same." The choice won't be made in one big moment. It'll be made in the small ones. Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off. Later today when resistance shows up. Tonight when you have a choice between distraction and direction. Those small moments are where your life actually changes. Not in motivation videos, not in planning sessions, not in New Year's resolutions. In the quiet moments when nobody's watching and you decide whether to keep your word to yourself. You're not tired. You never were. You're divided. Split between who you are and who you could be. Split between comfort and growth. Split between avoiding and becoming. And division is exhausting. The moment you choose fully, the exhaustion lifts. Not because life gets easier, because you stop fighting yourself. You stop carrying the weight of who you're not showing up as. You just become the person who does what needs to be done. That person doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" That person asks, "Is it necessary?" And if the answer is yes, they move. No drama, no speeches, no internal debate, just action. So here's your move, right now, not after this video ends, not after you think about it. Right now, identify one thing you've been avoiding. One small thing, not your whole life, just one thing, and go do it for 5 minutes. That's it. That's how you break the pattern. That's how you prove to yourself that you're not tired. You're just in a loop, and loops can be broken with one different action. The version of you that stops avoiding, he's already in there. Quiet, patient, waiting for you to take control back. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Move now. Feel better after. Because you're not tired. You're capable of more than you've been allowing. And deep down, you've always known it. Now go prove it to yourself.